Welcome back, Saint Absolute Activity Harrison Ford. Yes, the Harrison Ford aloof did article, no one apprehension, he anytime would. He absolved out on a live television, and not aloof any show. He stormed off the actualization afterwards a fiery, tense, and actually jaw-dropping affray with none added than Joy Behar. What happened to baff the scenes? What actually led to this atomic moment? Why did one of the best admired actors of all time adjudge to bead the mic and disappear? Stick about because this adventure is activity to leave you stunned. It all began on an Arctic Monday morning in New York. The actualization flat was packed, bustling with anticipation. Harrison Ford doesn't do a lot of allocution shows anymore. He's accepted for actuality private, thoughtful, and sometimes a bit grumpy, but in a charming, no-nonsense affectionate of way. He was there to advance his new memoir, atrociously honest attending at his activity in and out of the spotlight. Aggregate from Star Wars to Indiana Jones to alike crashes and claimed struggles. The admirers was buzzing. Some were excited, others were aloof curious, but no one, accepted what was about to unfold. As the addition music achromatic and Whoopi Goldberg accustomed the viewers, Harrison absolved out to a beachcomber of applause. Dressed in an aphotic blazer, denim jeans, and that archetypal asperous expression, he gave the affectionate of quiet smile alone addition like Harrison Ford could cull off. He befuddled easily with the co-hosts, nodded politely, and sat down. Things started off smooth. They talked about his Aboriginal years in Hollywood, his struggles with accent as a kid, his adulation of aviation, and a affecting moment from the set of Indiana Jones. Anybody was engaged, Joy Behar looked absolutely interested. But then about 10 account in, the activity changed. Joy leaned forward. Her accent was polite, but her words were annihilation but soft. "Harrison," she began, "you've had an amazing career, no doubt. But some of the things you've said in the accomplished about Backroom and the Alive class, they complete a little out of touch. Don't you think?" The allowance went still. You could feel the shift. Sarah Haynes blinked. Whoopi aloft an eyebrow. Harrison looked at Joy, afresh at the crowd, a fresh boring leaned back in his chair. "Out of touch," he repeated. "You appetite to ameliorate that?" Joy didn't absence a beat. "You allocution about claimed responsibility, about how bodies should cull themselves up, assignment harder, stop complaining. But isn't that accessible to say aback you're a millionaire aerial planes and active in Wyoming?" There it was, the challenge, the poke, the atom that set the fire. Harrison's smile faded. He placed his easily on the table, looked Joy asleep in the eyes, and said calmly, "Are you suggesting I didn't acquire what I have?" Joy shrugged. "I'm adage maybe you're overlooking the bigger picture." The air in the flat got heavier. Admirers' associates confused in their seats. A few clapped, a few gasped, but Harrison didn't flinch. "I was a carpenter in my 30s, he said, his articulation low and sharp. "I got a loan by every flat in town. I congenital decks while added actors got roles I was never accustomed to admirers for. I had 2 kids and no money, no assurance fund, no ancestors' connections, aloof grit. So, aback I allocution about adamantine work. I'm not accounted off a teleprompter." That aftermost band hit hard. You could see it on Joy's face. Her smile tightened. She wasn't acclimated to guests' battlefront aback like that. "And aback you use this seat," he added, to bung about phrases like out of touch. "Maybe exceed that some of us bethink absolutely what it's like to accept nothing." Joy aloft her eyebrows, acutely afraid by his intensity. "So, your adage there's no abode for criticism, no allowance for accountability?" Harrison laughed aloof once. "A abbreviate a siculate sound. I'm adage there's a aberration amid a chat and an ambush. And appropriate now this feels like the latter." Whoopi stepped in aggravating to bland things over. "Let's accompany it aback a bit. Everyone's got a adventure, but it was too late." Harrison pushed his armchair aback slowly, stood up, and looked about the table. The allowance was silent. He said, "I came actuality to allocution about a book, about family, about legacy, not to be alleged a actor by addition who thinks shouting louder agency actuality right." He angry to Joy. "I've survived alike crashes, bad scripts, flat politics, and accessible burden for 50 years. But this," he paused. "This isn't account my time." And aloof like that, he absolved off the set. The admirers didn't apperceive what to do. Some clapped, others sat in abashed silence. Joy stared at the abandoned chair. Sarah Haynes covered her mouth. Whoopi aloof befuddled her head. The producers cut to commercial, but the moment had already been austere into internet history. Within hours, the blow was everywhere. Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. It exploded. The hashtags #Harrison vs. Joy and #FordStormsOff were trending worldwide. Admirers debated. News outlets jumped in. Was Joy out of line? Was Harrison too sensitive? Or was this aloof, a raw, unfiltered moment amid two bodies who artlessly band to a back down? And afresh it got worse. TMZ appear leaked audio from backstage. Someone, acceptable a mic tech, had messed up Harrison's articulation as he absolved off set. In the audio, you can apprehend him mutter, "That wasn't a conversation. That was a setup. I'm done with this circus." Addition off mic approved to stop him. "Mr. Ford, we can reshoot if." "No," he replied. "Don't alarm me again." Those 7 words beatific shock after effects through the industry. Don't alarm me again. Did this beggarly Harrison Ford would never do Addition allocution show? Was he blacklisting the actualization entirely? And added importantly, had daytime television assuredly beyond a line? Joy Behar for her part, backward quiet for 2 days. No tweets, no statements, not a chat until Wednesday morning. That day at the top of the show, she addressed it arch on. "Yes." Harrison absolved out. She said, "Yes, things got heated. And no, I'm not apologetic for allurement questions." She paused. The flat was tense. "Look, we accompany bodies on actuality to talk, to challenge, to debate. That's what the actualization is. If Addition can't handle that, maybe they're not as boxy as they think." The admirers gave a few borderline claps, but article about her accent acquainted different, a little defensive, a little uncertain. After that evening, Harrison Ford fabricated his move. He acquainted a handwritten letter on his amusing media. A photo of lined cardboard in his signature scroll. It read, "When a chat turns into an address and bluntness is met with arrogance, you don't argue. You walk. I accept no regrets. I batten my truth. I larboard with my dignity." The end. No hashtags, no tags, no names, but anybody knew absolutely who and what it was about. The column got over 9-actor brand in below 24 hours. Celebrities commented, admirers rallied, some alleged it iconic, others alleged it unnecessary. But afresh came the aberration no one saw coming. A chapped photo leaked online. A man and a woman at a baby booth in Manhattan. The man, Harrison Ford, the woman, Joy Behar, they were sitting beyond from anniversary other. No cameras, no audience, aloof coffee and conversation. Were they authoritative piece? Was this accident control? Or were they aloof two professionals, too divisioned to let one bad day ascertain their story? No one knows. And maybe that's the point. Because sometimes the better moments don't appear on a live TV. Sometimes they appear in silence, abroad from the spotlight, abaft the scenes. What we do apperceive is this. Harrison Ford reminded anybody that blackout can allege louder than words. That walking abroad isn't weakness, it's power. And that sometimes aback the lights get too ablaze and the questions get too sharp, the alone absolute acknowledgement is to angle up and airing out. What happened that day wasn't aloof a viral moment. It was a cultural reset, an admonition that alike legends accept banned, and that no amount how big the show, some bodies will never comedy along. In the canicule that followed, the industry couldn't stop talking. Morning radio shows replayed the clip. Backward night comedians advised in with their takes. Some funny, some biting. One antic from an actor's set went viral on its own. Harrison Ford didn't airing off the view. He did an emergency landing after a bench belt. But below the memes and monologues, article absolute was brewing. Hollywood Assembly started allurement, a austere question. Has the architecture of shows like The Actualization gone too far? Producers from battling networks began agilely affair celebrity guests from accessible appearances. Not out of protest, but out of fear. No one capital their A-lister to be the abutting viral confrontation. Alike actors accepted for befitting air-conditioned and columnist junkets started ambitious tighter ascendancy of account questions, alike insisting on no political topics, abnormally if the actualization had Joy Behar at the table. Meanwhile, Harrison Ford remained bashful for about 2 abounding weeks. No press, no statements, not alike a accessible actualization until he aback showed up accidentally at a Adept Om's Bright in Washington, D.C. The red carpeting cameras lit up. Reporters swarmed him, atrocious for a complete chaw about the now abominable walkout. He gave them one, aloof bristles words. "I said what I meant. That was it." He absolved inside, calm, collected, unshaken. But the absolute shock came after that night because during the contest bashful auction, Ford donated an active archetype of his memoir, one with a handwritten agenda central the advanced cover. Alone, one being would anytime see what it said, but edition leaked a photo. It read, "Greater than to whoever owns this next. Never break an apartment that annihilate your soul." HF. That adduce was everywhere the abutting morning. Instagram graphics, t-shirts alike buzz wallpapers. And afresh came the adverse move. Joy Behar went alive on Instagram, article she rarely does. In a video that lasted aloof 3 minutes, she battened on to the camera. She looked annoyed but not defeated. "I've spent my accomplished activity speaking up," she began. "And I've fabricated bodies uncomfortable. I get it. I've beyond lines. I've additionally stood my ground." She paused, her articulation lowering. "But I never capital Harrison Ford to feel disrespected. That wasn't the goal. I pushed. He pushed back. And about in that mess, maybe we both absent something." She concluded with one final book that bent anybody off guard. "I achievement he knows. I never hated him. I envied his silence. The internet didn't apperceive what to do with that. Was it an apology? A court offering? A added accuracy than anyone expected." But afresh came the moment that afflicted everything. Harrison Ford, in a attenuate moment of agenda vulnerability, commented on her video. Aloof one sentence. "So did I." It was like watching two titans lower their swords at the aforementioned time. The war was over, but what it larboard abaft was added able than any argument. A new affectionate of respect, a aberrant quiet understanding. And afresh they abolished from the headlines, no added drama, no added tweets, no added leaks, aloof silence. But abaft that blackout was a new reality. The actualization changed. Harrison Ford changed. Alike Joy Behar changed. Weeks later, ratings for the actualization dipped. Not drastically, but abundant to notice. Some admirers acquainted the atom was gone. Others said it was karma, but abysmal bottom-ward the admirers knew they had witnessed article rare. A absolute moment, a absolute fight, and an alike rarer conclusion grace. And as for Harrison Ford, he went aback to flying, aback to his ranch, aback to the skies. In an account 3 months later, he was asked afresh about the incident. This time, in a clandestine sit-down with a baby indie podcast host, his answer, "You don't consistently get to accept the storm, but you do get to accept how you leave it." And with that, the final chat was spoken. No charge for headlines, no charge for viral clips, aloof the quiet ability of a man who absolved away. Not to run, but to abide whole. Because in an apple that demands reactions, explosions, and connected noise, sometimes the boldest move is to say annihilation and leave on your own terms, aloof like Harrison Ford.